You're listening to an interview taken from the Tonic Talk Show and Podcast, heard exclusively on Zoomer Radio. To download or listen to the original episode or other episodes of The Tonic, please visit thetonic.ca.
Andrea Donsky is a registered holistic nutritionist with 20 years experience in natural health and wellness. She's the co-founder and editor-in-chief of naturallysavvy.com and a regular contributor to Tonic Magazine. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Jamie. Happy to be here.
Yeah, you were here a couple months ago and we were talking about women's health for Women's Health Month. But today we're going to talk about something that pertains to all of us.
Yes.
And that is probiotics.
Yes, bacteria. Woo! Woo! We are made of bacteria, so it's an awesome topic.
Okay. So there's good bacteria and bad bacteria, and the good kind is called probiotics, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So what are probiotics?
Probiotics are living bacteria. So our bodies are made up of trillions of bacteria, and the bacteria lives on pretty much every part of our body, like our skin, in our gut, and up our nose. In fact, our bacteria outnumber our cells 10 to 1.
Yeesh.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah. If it's okay with you, I want to avoid that thought from my head. Okay, you just zap that out. You said it, and I'm sure it's true, but I don't want to think about it. We're just going to move on. Okay.
Oh my God. Okay, so most of the bacteria lives in our gut, and our gut is also known as our microbiome. Are you familiar with that term?
I am.
You would be, because you run Tonic.
I do.
So you know.
I know all about it. And it helps us digest our food, right?
It does. So our gut contains as many as 1,000 different types of living microorganisms, including bacteria, viruses, and yeast, with bacteria making up the majority of them.
Right. And it's important for the processing of nutrients in our body. Without the bacteria, we would not be able to take in all the important nutrients.
100%. And the thing when it comes to bacteria or probiotics or gut microflora is that we want to make sure that it's balanced. And because we live in the real world and we don't live in a bubble, our bacteria becomes imbalanced in our gut. So, if you're smoking or you're not exercising or you're eating poor food or you're drinking a lot or you're stressed, hello, life.
Or you've taken antibiotics.
Or you've taken antibiotics. That's a great one.
Yeah.
So it becomes imbalanced. So the key is we want to make sure that our gut is balanced because, like you said, it's amazing for health reasons. So it helps with digestion, immunity, mental health, right? So now we know that a lot of what's going on, 70% of our immune system is in our gut. So it's important for so many different things.
Right. And, in a purely purient fashion, it affects sort of your ability to digest and perhaps, you might burp or have more gas or just, generally your body may look different if you're not digesting properly. You can look sallow if you don't have the proper digestion.
We are what we, it's interesting. I was listening to something the other day and they were saying, we are what we eat. We are what we absorb.
Yes.
Right? So how are we digesting our food? And yes, probiotics play a very big part in that.
And it changes as you age, right? Like
it decreases. The amount of gut flora decreases as we age. So that's why it's really important. So I'm a big believer in taking probiotics every single day. And I do. And I take it really, yes, for overall immunity and mental and digestion. But for me, it's my mental health. So this is my own observation of having been in, I'm a nutritionist now. I'm in this industry for 20 years. And personally, I love to actually experiment everything on myself. So I never talk about anything unless I've actually taken it and I believe in it 100%. So I have experimented with probiotics by taking it daily and then stopping and then seeing the results. And for me, it manages my anxiety. Huh. I find that if I am consistently taking my probiotics, my anxiety is much better than if I'm not.
Do you know, I find that when I eat ice cream and chocolate, I feel better. But I think you're talking about something different.
Yeah, we're talking about, by the way, the chocolate and the ice. Well, actually, if it's organic, dark, 70% cocoa, then I'm all for it because I think that is awesome. It has all the antioxidants and it's so good, right?
Chocolate.
The dark chocolate is great. The ice cream, once in a while, hey, listen.
Hey,
I love my coconut ice cream. I'm dairy free, but I am a big fan of coconut ice cream.
We make it ourselves. So it's...
I like.
Yeah. You know that ice cream maker you probably got for your wedding and probably sat there?
I have like that banana ice cream maker.
Okay. So, we got this great cookbook because Naomi reviews the cookbooks and it was all about ice cream. And since we've got it, I would say we've used the ice cream maker more in the past year and a half than we did in the first 25 years of our marriage.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I love ice cream. Hey, listen.
Yeah. Sorry, it's all about balance here on the Tonic.
It's all about balance. I wrote a book called Unjunk Your Junk Food.
There you
go. So we're all about balance. And if you want your, piece of chocolate,
right,
and you don't want your carrot, I get it. You want your chocolate.
So what else does probiotics help us with in terms of our health?
Well, so we covered the big ones. I mean, there's so many different things, but the big ones really are the mental health, it's immunity, because 70%, like we said, of our immunity is in our gut, and it helps with digestion. Those are the big ones, but overall health.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I went to the store or if I went online and I was looking for probiotics, there would be a lot to choose from, right? And
There are so many brands.
From your perspective, like what is it that people should be looking for in terms of their probiotics?
Right. So there are a lot of new probiotics and brands that have hit the market. I mean, I'm more of old school girl when it comes to probiotics because, and I'm doing more and more research to seeing what's new popping up, but I like a refrigerated probiotic.
Why?
Because the thing about refrigeration, first of all, that's where a lot of the research is, but the refrigerated, what happens when a probiotic is refrigerated, that it actually kind of puts the bacteria into a form of, let's say, hibernation.
Stasis, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then what happens when you take it out of the fridge and when it hits your colon, your intestines, or if it's even at room temperature, they start to activate. And if you don't give them what they need, let's say for their food, which is prebiotics, or if they don't get what they need when they're in our body, the food that feed it. So a prebiotic, you're familiar with prebiotics. Yeah. So if you don't, probiotics are food for the probiotics. If they don't get what they need, they start to die off. Right. So that's why you want to get them in the refrigerator. And you also want to look for multi-strain probiotics.
Why?
So because that's where the research is. It helps with overall immunity. And that's where the clinical research is showing that they're really effective.
Okay. So also when I'm looking at labels about probiotics, I'm looking at like massive numbers for the amount and like they have to be live and they have to be this and they have to be that. Yeah. But like they're big numbers, right? It seems almost farcical, but there is a method behind the madness, right?
Right. So absolutely. So the big numbers are called CFUs, which are colony forming units. And the reason why they're in the billions is because there's billions of them, right? So it's the number of active cells we get in the formula, in the probiotic.
But we actually do need billions, right?
We do need billions, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've ever even seen a probiotic that's come in the millions, right? So no, you absolutely need, it's the only way that you'll find it in a formula
But is more necessarily better?
Yeah. So it depends, right? So if you have, if you're younger and, you probably need 10 to 20 billion.
Okay, so what's younger?
I mean, I'd say when you're probably in your, if you're, let's say under 40, let's say. So if you're younger, then you don't need as much.
Or maybe even
under 30, okay? Like don't quote me exactly, but and it also is dependent on your body, right? So if you're younger but you have colon issues, then you're going to need more. Right? So but for everyday natural maintenance, 10 to 20 billion is enough. If you're over 50, though, you are going to need much more. And if you have specific issues, like, for example, like you said, if you were on antibiotics, then you're going to need something that's going to help you recover and replenish those good bacteria. So you're going to want something that has like 120 billion, for example. Or if you have colon issues, you're going to want something that has a little bit more. I personally take 60 billion every single day. So that's my dosage. And let's say I need a little bit more. If I'm feeling under the weather, I'll up my dosage. If I'm feeling a little bit more anxious, I'll up my dosage. If I have some, a lot more ice cream than I normally do, I'll up my dosage. Exactly, right? So it really depends on, and there's also probiotics that if you're, that have been studied for C. difficile. So if you're going in for some type of operation or you're going to the hospital, then you may want to take a specific type of probiotic that has been studied for C. diff.
Are there different types of probiotics depending on like what your diet is, for example? Like if you're vegan or vegetarian, if you're living a certain lifestyle, or let's rephrase the question. Are there types of probiotics that you would recommend? Like is there strains that make a difference or are all bacteria the same?
No, so there are different strains. So you do want to look for that multi-strain because that's what's going to make the difference. They've all been researched differently. So there's human strain, there's plant strain, and there's animal strains. And the studies are showing that the multi-strain formulas offer better results for in the clinical trials compared to the single-strain formulas.
So when we're saying results, it's the efficacy of like the digestion and everything, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So what they're being studied for. So for example, C. difficile, the specific strains that you would be looking for, I don't know exactly what they are, but you would be looking for is those would be the ones you want to take. But what companies are going to say on the package, they'll tell you what it's actually for. So if it's like a hospital care formula or if it's a colon care formula, they should tell you what those strains are. Because you're not as consumers, we're not we don't go into the research, right? We're not like, wait, I really need that strain. I mean, there are very common ones like lactobacillus and bifido. So there are certain ones that we know about, but we're not expected to know that when we go into the store to buy them.
I would hope not. That's too much information.
We want the companies to tell us.
Well,
That's
exactly,
the
right?
thing, right? So that's why you want to make sure that the products you're buying have, their labels. Certain things are written on the label. Like, for example, how many CFUs are at the expiry date of the actual product.
Why is that relevant?
Because companies are going to do, especially probiotic companies, is that they're going to overfill their dosages, let's say their CFUs, so that by the time they expire, they're going to have that amount. So let's say, for example, you're buying a product that has 50 billion CFUs.
Right.
And if the company writes at the time of manufacturing, well, by the time that they expire, they're going to have less than the 50 billion. So you want to buy probiotics from companies that are going to say they have 50 billion at the expiry date.
Like a guarantee.
It's a guarantee, exactly.
And anything more, if anything above that amount is just gravy, right?
Totally gravy, yeah. And they should overfill them because then it'll give you the 50 billion by the time they actually expire because they'll decrease over time.
So like what I'm hearing from you is if I get my 50 billion, am I good to go? Or is there more to it than that?
Well, I mean,
I'm a simple man, Andrea. Explain it to me.
Okay, so yes, it's a step in the right direction for sure. Other things we want to keep in mind when buying a probiotic are, like we just talked about, the expiry date.
Right.
So we just mentioned that, and also enterocoding, right? So enterocoding is very important. So our stomach is full of acid, which can destroy the good bacteria or the probiotics that we're taking.
Right, if we're taking it in pill form or ingesting it.
Yeah, it could be
by
powder
eating it.
form, pill
Yeah.
form, exactly, different ways. So in order to make sure that the probiotics reach our gut, we want to make sure that we take one that can survive the stomach acids and they actually reach our intestines. And enterocoding capsules are the only way that are proven, that it's a proven method that actually get the capsule past our stomach acids.
Okay.
So it doesn't break it down.
And that should be on the label then, right? It should
Yes, you would know exactly if it's enterocoded. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this like a time release type thing? Is that the technology or?
No, so it's okay. So on average, it takes around 60 minutes for something you eat to get through your stomach and into your intestines. When tested using the United States Pharmacopoeia protocol, which is the standard method of testing, delay release capsules lasted only 30 minutes. And after 30 minutes, the capsules get permeated with acids and the delicate bacteria you just spent your good money on actually never gets to where it needs to go. So a capsule is made with two halves. The weakest point is the joint. Enterocoding not only seals the joint, but it also protects the entire capsule. So only enterocoded capsules can guarantee that all the probiotics in the capsule you just took actually get to your intestines safely.
Oh, okay. So time release isn't enough.
No, it's not the same thing. No.
Okay. Okay, so given all that you've told us about the supplement, is there a brand that you would recommend?
So there are a lot of different brands on the market that are good quality. One of them that I've recently started working with is New Roots Herbal. And the reason why I really like them, and they've taught me a lot about probiotics. And the reason why I like them is because they're enterocoded, they're refrigerated, and they use that multi-strain. So, and the other cool thing about them is they actually have so many different SKUs. So many different things that you can buy. So for example, like I was talking about, if you're going to the hospital, they'll have a hospital care one. If you have a colon issue, they have a colon issue one. They have one for women. They have one. So like there's so many different options that, again, if you don't know the strains, which we don't expect you to know, you can just go in and pick the one that you need for your specific issue.
Oh, that's great.